Durant blows by Primo. Attack!
Jokic in the power. Here it goes. Got it. Denver has won.
But that's my stubborn side. Like, it's easy to go somewhere and go and win a championship with somebody else. It's easy. But this is the hard way to do it, and we did it.
We welcome you in to the Small Ball Podcast alongside producer Andy, Trevor Mikulin, and Christian Dennis. I'm Scott Ayers saying hello from Phoenix, Arizona. It is day one of free agency, but the deals have started well before today. Trevor, DeJounte Murray is an Atlanta Hawk.
Yeah, that's crazy. The rumors were leaking days before the draft, and they came to fruition. DeJounte Murray to Atlanta. I did not think it was going to happen. It was leaked that Atlanta wanted a Drew Holiday type get back when the Bucks traded for Drew. And sure enough, they got 3 draft picks and a pick swap. So essentially they got 4 draft picks for DeJounte Murray. I really like the pairing with Trae Young. That's such a fun backcourt. You got your defensive-minded guy that's going to facilitate on offense, and you have your Trae Young that does everything offensively for you. And I just really like what they're building there. And they're not done. John Collins is still possibly on the move. Clint Capella is still possibly on the move. Bogdan Bogdanovic. And if they were to roll out with the team that they have now, this is a team that was in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I like what they're doing in Atlanta. I really like it.
Yeah, I feel like DeJounte Murray is like the perfect fit next to Trae Young, especially on the defensive side. You know, the Hawks have some pieces to where they can build a really solid defensive team with DeAndre Hunter. They also have Onyeka Okongwu that they can play in that starting 5.
Clint Capella?
Well, it sounds like Clint's gone. I mean, Okongwu, what he showed in the playoffs this year and regular seasons, like he needs more playing time. You know, Capella's getting a little bit older. Might as well get rid of him while he has some sort of value. But, you know, you build a team that is pretty good defensively around Trae Young. That's going to allow Trae Young to be an offensive juggernaut, even more so, I should say, because it's like less work he's going to have to put on the defensive side to where he could put more energy and effort on the offensive side. But I think what's interesting about this trade is the Hawks didn't really have to give up anything.
I was going to say
they gave up 3 first-round picks and
first-round picks and a pick swap.
And a pick swap. And then Danilo Gallinari, who's
a legend. We love Gallo on this show. He's a legend on the Small Ball Podcast show. But it really wasn't much.
Mm-mm. And what's crazy, too, is those first-round picks are unprotected. Like, you don't see that, like, ever in the NBA.
Which makes me think that they gave up, I would say, was a significant get back, in my opinion, because draft picks are so valuable. Unprotected first-round picks. We're seeing that even the trade between Houston and Brooklyn a couple years ago with James Harden, Houston got back all of Brooklyn's first-round picks. And in the time, people were saying the same thing that we're just saying. Like, they didn't give up that much. Look at the get back. They didn't get a lot for James Harden, but you never know if it's going to work out. And look at Brooklyn. They're kind of falling apart, and those picks all of a sudden, they're the biggest winners of today's free agency because Brooklyn's falling apart, and their draft picks are looking pretty valuable. So you never know what's going to happen in Atlanta. And so, in my opinion, I love what San Antonio did. They went out, and they're the ultimate tank team. We were going to talk about it.
They are going to be awesome next year because Lonnie Walker, we'll talk about him a little bit more. He actually is no longer on the Spurs, signing to L.A. They are tanking for that number 1 pick. It's not a guarantee, obviously, with the draft lottery, but what does this look like for San Antonio? Because they are truly building for the future now, future players, maybe future prospects, and maybe even future coaching, because we know Popovich could be kind of getting to that point where he might retire. What an interesting time if you are in San Antonio.
Yeah, it's really interesting, too, because they also have Jakob Poeltl. And with the kind of direction that they're going with trading DeJounte, like, do they want Jakob Portal? Like, I mean, you might as well just move him and get, some assets for him because he's one of the most underrated bigs in the league.
I agree.
And, let's just build around the core that you have right now, which is Keldon Johnson, Josh Primo, Devin Vassell, and then Jeremy Sohan and Blake Wesley, who they also drafted. Like, just
Malachi Branham.
Oh, Malachi Branham. Yeah, just play the young guys. Get the young guys out there.
And tank for Victor. And let's say his last name on 3.
1, 2. Okay. Say his last name on 3. Yeah, Trevor, you said say it on 3. I was the only one who counted.
Yeah, no.
I was going with the bit.
That was a test.
Say it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Wemen Benya.
Yama.
The French big, 7'5", rumored.
He makes Chet look like the itsy bitsy spider.
He makes Chet look puny. This kid is so long. And the tanking that we're going to see in the 2023 NBA season is going to be unlike any other. Spurs are kicking it off by trading away their very promising young point guard. Well, he's 25, but young point guard because they want Victor. And
Yeah, we're going to see some masterclass tanking here. This is going to be an art form. It's going to go down as the history of, like, oh, man, remember what the Spurs did? They traded away everyone, and they played a whole G League roster.
And they finished with the 4th pick.
just to get the 4th pick.
Yeah.
But, yeah, going victory list for Victor is by far, like, it's a move you have to go. Like, some are saying this is the best prospect since LeBron James.
Whoa.
Like, this dude can do anything, and he's 7'5".
Yeah,
like,
if you guys do not know who Victor Wembanyama is, we're gonna run highlights on this clip. Check them out. This kid, like you said, can do everything. He's 7'5", and the way. Well, I don't actually. We need to fact check that. I just saw a couple tweets about that. He can do everything. Watch him handle the ball. He can shoot. This kid is special.
Yeah, no, he is an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And I do want to cover Atlanta as well because I just want to jump back very briefly to them because we kind of mentioned it, but there's still potential trades with Capella and John Collins. I do think Atlanta has that chance of being a really sneaky contender next season, which a lot of time left to actually see what happens, but could be a blast to see what other moves are in store because the writing is on the wall. Seems like Capella's out. What they get in return is kind of what we'll see here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, there's a lot of suitors, I think, for those two players. Even you could throw Bogdanovich. He's had some rumors floating around. And Atlanta has a lot of options. There's teams that are, notably interested in John Collins, we've seen. There's teams that are notably interested in bigs. And so Clint Capella is a very, very good defensive big that you can play and start, and he'll do his job. As far as potential moves, we could talk more about that. I see them as suitors for a DeAndre Ayton sign and trade, which we'll talk about later in the show. But as far as anything else, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen.
What are your thoughts on doing like a Clint Capella and maybe a John Collins trade to Utah for Rudy Gobert?
I was thinking Rudy,
Let's
too.
talk about
I was thinking about chanting, Rudy, 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 Rudy. So here's the thing. I love that idea because now Atlanta is kind of selling out where they're really having some solid interior defense by getting Rudy. Utah clears things out because they get rid of star Royce O'Neal based on what Brooklyn gave up for him. But in turn, now Utah can have a little bragging chip for Donovan Mitchell and say, hey, look what we're bringing in return. We want you to stick with us. So it kind of keeps it could be a win-win for both teams. Kind of creates a sour situation and turns it sweet. Something to think about.
Yeah. Why do you like this for Atlanta?
I like it for Atlanta because just going back on just building a defensive juggernaut around Trae. Like, if you have Trae Young on your team, like, your offense is going to be fine. You're always going to be fine because of what he can do. And so if you add playmakers like DeJounte, now that's another guy who can drive and kick to Trae Young. It's a guy that can run an offense. And then if you throw in Rudy Gobert to back up Trae Young, that's, again, less work Trae has to do on defense.
DeAndre Hunter's
on the wing. Like, this team, that defense is top 5 defense easily with just those 3 players.
I really like the move for Utah as well to get back Clint Capella, who could fill that Rudy Gobert hole. Is he as good of a defender?
Serviceable big, maybe?
He's better than that. He's better than that. I really like Clint Capella. He had a down year last year, only averaged around 11 points. And before that, he was averaging 16, 15 every year. But I really, really like that because you get a guy that can fill the Rudy Gobert hole, to his best of his ability. And you get John Collins, a 24-year-old high-flying guy to play alongside of Donovan Mitchell. I like that idea better than them rolling out with the same thing that they've done for the past 7 years, 5 years, whatever it's been, with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Switch it up, Utah. I mean, they fired Quinn Snyder or parted ways, and
they just hired Will Hardy.
Yeah, Will Hardy
from the Celtics.
Yeah,
which is
former
awesome.
Spurs assistant, former Celtics assistant. He's got deep roots in the NBA. He's really, really young, but this guy can bring a lot to the table, a lot of experience for his age. And something fresh. Utah needs something fresh. I think that this trade would do it for them.
Sour to sweet. And guys, I've been on producer Andy watch. Producer Andy, mic in hand, he's ready to talk. Andy, what do you got for us?
Okay, so this is kind of the free agent signing that everybody's been waiting for all week. Jalen Brunson intends to agree to terms with the New York Knicks on a 4-year, $104 million deal. That's from Yahoo Sports, Chris B. Haynes. Thanks. But yeah, what do you guys think so far?
Guys, it's that time of the year. We're going to get into free agency, but seeing small market guys go to big market teams. So let's have a moment of silence for Jalen Brunson, who is now a big market team, will never be covered on this podcast again.
All right, that's good. Let's move on.
All right, let's move on. Okay.
Build up to that.
There's been some other moves in free agency, fellas. So let's talk about a big move. Malik Monk is in Sacramento. That has been something that's been on my mind. I know you guys have a lot to say. Go ahead, guys. Malik Monk, what does that fit actually look like for Sacktown?
This is really cool because I feel like there wasn't a lot of rumors of Malik Monk coming to Sacramento till like last night. I saw something and I was like, oh yeah, this is just another Sacramento Kings pipe dream sort of thing. And I was like, there's no way he leaves the Lakers. But to see him sign with Sacramento is super awesome because he's going to be playing alongside De'Aaron Fox, who he played with at Kentucky. Like, those are boys. And what Malik Monk adds to the Kings that they desperately need is shooting. And also, he's got that dog in him. We need that kind of like toughness, dog mentality, and that's what Malik Monk can provide. And now he's partnered up with one of his best friends. I feel like this has always been kind of something I've wanted to see ever since both were drafted into the NBA. But to see it come to fruition, kind of sick. And the fact that he left the Lakers, kind of sick.
That's epic.
Yeah, I love it. I like the move a lot. Like you said, like for us to hear the rumors last night and then to see it happen, super cool. Do I think that Malik Monk is the savior for this offseason? Absolutely not. I think Sacramento still has some work to do if they actually are serious about pushing for the playoffs. The roster's not there yet. But what Malik does is he brings shooting that you need to surround Fox and Sabonis with. Do I agree with the Keegan Murray draft pick? No, because I'm a best player available guy. You can't pass on future stars, but they went with Keegan Murray, who is a good fit. And I think he's going to be a good player. He fits well as a 3-point shooter, added to that starting 5. And if they roll out with Harrison Barnes, so be it. He's another good shooter. And so you have 3 shooters playing with Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. Their defense is going to be... They don't have a lot of defensive guys. Can Mike Brown instill a team defensive mindset? I'm hoping as a Kings fan that can happen. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Like right now, I don't think right now if we were to roll into next season, the Kings would be a playoff team. I think that you have to do more with the roster. Yeah, but I like the Monk signing. It's exciting. Former collegiate teammates to team back up.
I think it's cool too. It's always nice when like a smaller market team is able to make a splash like this and not re-signing a guy that they've had for a while, but to get a guy who's played in LA and I know he's in Charlotte to start. That is still an exciting thing if you're in Sacramento because it's a fresh new face who hopefully can really be a spark. And like you said, some things need to be done for Sacramento to have a chance to really make that playoff push. But you shouldn't walk away as a Kings fan and be like, that was interesting. This should be a very exciting signing for Sacramento. One team, though, that continues to seem like they win both on and off the court is Milwaukee. They obviously make some re-signings today. They also signed Joe Ingles to a 1-year deal, which to me, that feels like a low-risk, high-reward type of situation. We're not really sure what he can be, but he can provide a spark off the bench. You also get Bobby Portis for 4 more years. I really like these moves for Milwaukee, and this is just another sign that this team is going to be competing. Obviously, with Giannis, you're always competing, but I mean in contention for winning the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I just love how players like Bobby Portis go to a small market, and he just embraces his role, and the fans just absolutely adores him, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to stay here. I love it here. The fans love me. I'm on a winning team playing for he doesn't chase the big money. I mean, he still got paid pretty decently. He probably could have got more other places, but I mean, to stay in that small market where he's so loved, that just leaves room for that player to just thrive. And how can you leave playing with Giannis? I mean, you're always going to be in contention with Giannis on your team. So I also really like Joe Ingles joining, kind of a little bit of a backup, little safety net for if Chris Middleton's hurt again. He doesn't, I don't know how much of an impact he'll be, but
he's like 40 years old.
Yeah, but I mean, he still provides shooting, solid veteran. They also signed Wesley Matthews back. So, I mean, the Bucks, they got their team back together. That's basically all it is.
And sometimes that's all you need to do to kind of run it right back. You mentioned Joe Ingles. He's maybe a little bit
34.
older. 34.
Coming off of an ACL injury.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically 40.
That's basically 40.
I'm not excited for that signing, if I'm honest.
Yeah, which is fine. But they just really need to make sure that they kept that core, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
But you kind of mentioned bigger contracts, and we did see some big contract signings. Was there any that stuck out to you as maybe a bit of an overpaying? Maybe whether it was a max that was sent out or a couple years. Lou Dort, I know you mentioned, was one name, Trevor, that might have been a bit of an overpayment.
Not necessarily. Lou Dort was I feel like he's a young guy. He's shown a lot. He's a dog, undrafted. I was going to go with Anthony Simons for him to get 4 years, $100 million for just a season of production, and it wasn't even the full season. He was exciting, but was he worth the $100 million for 4 years? I mean, maybe that's a signing that Portland had to do to just make sure that they held on to him. That's great asset management. He's a young player, maybe valuable in trades, but do I think he's worth $25 million? I don't know. I don't know if he's shown enough. So it's a questionable signing for sure. Can I logistically make it make sense? Sure, but I would say it's questionable.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair to say. I'm really high on Anthony Simons, and with CJ McCollum out, I think that just leaves a lot of room for him to play, kind of fill that role next to Dame. One guy I was kind of like a little surprised. It's not necessarily like a massive overpay or anything, but I just kind of wanted to touch a little bit is just like Mo Bamba signing back to the Magic.
Yeah.
I kind of was just like really expected him to leave.
Yeah.
I thought, like the Raptors would be all over him. Mm-hmm. I thought there'd just be like teams that were just wanting to get Mo Bamba, but like for him to sign with the Magic, I was like, kind of like, all right.
It was confusing too, just because it's not like he's a guaranteed starter in Orlando either. And that's been kind of a trend overall, is a lot of the signings where maybe we thought guys would go elsewhere. Even Victor Oladipo was a little surprising. I thought maybe he was one name where we would see him could kind of go anywhere, signing a 1-year deal to kind of revitalize his career, and he sticks in Miami. So, yeah, I think those are names that stick out. And one for me, a massive overpayment, was DeAndre Jordan. He signed...
He got the minimum.
DeAndre Jordan, huge congrats to his agent because he did an awesome job. Jordan continues to get paid. Now he's a Denver Nugget.
Literally signed for the minimum, and that's an overpayment.
It's a huge overpayment.
You're going to love 82 games of DeAndre Jordan. It's going to be awesome.
The only thing I want isn't just a tall boy lineup of Aaron Gordon, MPJ, Jokic, DeAndre Jordan, and Vlatko. And it's just Jokic tossing oops to DeAndre Jordan. That is the only way.
You'll get one sick highlight alley-oop of DeAndre Jordan a month. You'll get one of those.
And I will be all in. I'm like, you're not going to believe what DeAndre Jordan can do. This guy's serviceable.
He's back.
I'm all in on DeAndre Jordan.
Is DeAndre Jordan the X factor for the Nuggets?
They've been talking about needing a big signing, and I think we got our guy.
Biggest signing since Paul Millsap.
Yeah, Paul Millsap, true story, is the biggest free agent signing the Denver Nuggets have ever had.
That's small market, baby.
That's small market basketball. Let that marinate. And that the Nuggets talked to Dwayne Wade. That was also the biggest free agent news that the Nuggets ever had. But there is even bigger news, and sometimes big news happens for guys that are actually on a team. And we can actually go into a bigger market because it's going to involve smaller markets. Let's go into the realm of Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving says, you know what? I'm sticking it out. I want to stay. Kevin Durant says, sounds good because I want out of here. Kevin Durant requesting a trade, and now pandemonium in the NBA, hell kind of breaking loose. Where do we go from here now that Kevin Durant wants out of Brooklyn?
I love on NBA Twitter, I think every single team's fans have, like, if you go onto your Twitter and you're a fan of a team, you are going to see a jersey swap with Kevin Durant wearing your team's uniform.
You even see colleges doing jersey swaps with KD.
It's insane. Everyone wants KD. There's a lot that comes with that. Brooklyn's rumored to want 2 All-Stars and draft picks for Kevin Durant. It's interesting. Do I think that something gets done? Realistically, no, but let's dream. Let's talk about a small market teams that can get Kevin Durant.
Yeah, and I think there's one that we've talked about, and dream with us, would you?
You expect us to join that bit?
Yes. I didn't realize it had to be a 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the Toronto Raptors. I think Toronto has pieces that could bring in Kevin Durant. Is it likely? A Kevin Durant trade, like you said, isn't likely, but I do think it's doable. A couple names, obviously, Fred VanVleet is a name that you could toss around. Siakam is a name. Scotty Barnes is a name. One of those guys is going to be at the heart, most likely 2, in order to get a trade package done. But I do think Toronto could be a landing spot for Kevin Durant.
You don't trade Scotty Barnes, even if you're getting 34-year-old Kevin Durant. So he's off the table for me. I wouldn't even bring him up. But I do think that this has groundwork for a potential deal. His fit in Toronto is fun. He's already besties with Drake.
He is.
Yeah,
That goes left foot up.
That's Drake. Yep. I think he. I mean, you add him to any team, him and Nick Nurse, and you have Scotty Barnes. Whoever ends up staying with that team, you have something to build off of. So it's a fun idea. I do think that Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam would be the two guys to go out in that deal.
I think, though, if you're Toronto, they've already seen this story before. They traded away DeRozan for a rental in Kawhi Leonard, and they won a championship. And so my thought is it would hurt to lose Scotty Barnes because he's a potential face of the franchise. But if it means you get Kevin Durant for 3 years and you get 3 potential seasons of a championship, you have to do it. No. You have to do it because without that, Scotty Barnes is great. But if I have a chance to get Kevin Durant and make a run at a championship, I'd take that chance 10 times out of 10.
You agree?
Yeah, because the trade, if they win a championship, then the trade's worth it.
It's worth it 100%.
Worth it.
Well, that's a question mark. Like, there's no guarantee you're going to win a championship.
I mean, it's a better guarantee than having Scotty Barnes on your team.
I agree.
I mean, I don't think Scotty Barnes would get traded for Kevin Durant. I don't think that's happening. But if that is a question and I get to keep like Pascal or Fred VanVleet or something like that, and I just have to move Scotty Barnes, then I would take that.
Well, that's not what we're saying. We're saying 2 guys. So you end up trading away Scotty plus one of those big-time guys and some draft picks, and you're saying you'd do that for Kevin Durant?
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah.
Dude, no way. Scotty Barnes is 20 years old.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Cool.
But you have to give something up in a trade like that. Scotty Barnes probably has more value than Fred VanVleet.
He does.
Probably similar or more than Pascal.
He has more value than both those guys. And
then you're probably trading Scotty Barnes.
No, Brooklyn's asking for 2 All-Stars. You got 2 All-Stars in Pascal.
Well, would you? So you're saying you wouldn't do like Fred VanVleet and Scotty Barnes, and you get to keep
Kevin Durant.
and you get to keep Pascal Siakam?
No. Scotty Barnes is untouchable.
There's no untouchables in this league when you're talking about Kevin
Unless
Durant.
you're trading me Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka, Nikola Jokic, Scotty. You're not getting Scotty Barnes. I'm sorry.
Wow. So
This is a generational talent. This is one of the
He's
best.
34 years old.
Who cares?
I do.
LeBron James is 37. Look at what he can do. Kevin Durant
I'm not talking. This is a franchise.
LeBron James is dominating at 37. You don't think Kevin Durant can do that?
That's 3 years from now.
Yeah,
but that's his contract.
You can have 12 to 13 to 14 more prime years of Scotty Barnes.
and that doesn't guarantee you a championship.
Neither does Kevin Durant.
It gets you closer.
We're getting aggressive.
It gets you really close.
I do think
I don't know, guys,
Kevin
that's
Durant
bad.
right now gets you closer than the next 3 years.
It puts
of Scotty
you in the
Barnes.
conversation to win a championship.
'Cause I
and
think-
Masai Ujiri, he's known to take risks. He took the risk, got Kawhi, got a championship.
But he traded an aging DeMar DeRozan. It's not as high intensity as trading your rookie of the year, Scotty Barnes.
But it was for a rental Kawhi, and this is multiple years of Kevin Durant, who's
Not-
best friends with Drake.
Also, I'm pretty sure his contract is 4 years. I don't think it's
4. Oh, it is 4.
It's
Yeah,
4 years.
I've been counting it as that year. It is 4 years.
It's 4 years of Kevin Durant, one of the best, top 5 player of all time, debatable. He's one of the greatest players to ever play the game. How do you not trade for him?
He's 34 years old. You never know. We're gonna wrap this up, but I'm not trading Scotty Barnes into Kevin Durant deal unless it's straight up. If we're
Is
talking
there
straight up,
any
sure.
other team that you could make this trade? Actually, there's a meme team, a comedy team. I keep seeing them pop up. The Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
They think that they have
Yeah, like Dame posted on his Instagram.
And Nurkic.
And Nurkic is like,
Nurkic is a free agent right now.
the only way Kevin Durant goes to Portland, Dame, is if you're the one coming
Yes.
back. Who are you going to trade?
Who do you trade on Portland?
Do you want Josh Hart?
Do you want Josh Hart and a 2030 first round pick because we traded everything else away? They traded all their picks away for like Norman Powell.
and Robert Covington,
And Robert
who are no
Covington.
longer on the team.
Neither of those guys are on the team. Like, they don't have any assets except for Nurkic and Dame. And if Brooklyn got that, like,
Well, they have Jeremy Grant.
They do have Jeremy Grant.
I love the Jeremy Grant.
I do too, but I don't.
Yeah,
None of those guys.
Not realistic.
Not realistic.
Well,
at all.
you know where Kevin Durant is right now? He's in Portland.
What?
He's in Portland for Mike James camp.
Wait, what?
So he is already living it up in Oregon. It's basically guaranteed.
Blazer fans are just so happy to hear all that. Another one I've seen is Charlotte. Yeah.
Hello.
The Charlotte Hornets.
You got to pull this up.
Yeah.
Fast.
So Kevin Durant on Twitter liked this tweet, and it's Steve Clifford on being around Kevin Durant last offseason. Steve Clifford just named as head coach of Charlotte after the whole debacle with, who was it? It was Kenny Atkinson, who turned down the job after getting hired. Kevin Durant, this is what he says. Kevin Durant was a breath of fresh air. He may be the best player in the world, and nobody works harder. Nobody cares more about his teammates. And Kevin Durant liked that tweet, someone quoting Steve Clifford, and Charlotte fans are just salivating.
Could you say that Charlotte fans are buzzing? Hello, Hornets.
Yeah, that's another one that's like, who are you going to give up? Do you trade? I have the
You can give
roster.
up Miles Bridges.
Yeah, do a
after
sign
you
and trade.
sign him.
Sign and trade Miles
Sign.
Bridges. Give him Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier.
Well, what's interesting about Steve Clifford is he was the Nets coaching consultant this past year. So he's been around KD.
Yeah.
KD's been around him. So it's like maybe they formed a really good relationship.
Are Steve Clifford and KD besties?
They might be.
Wow.
Oh my
Clifford.
gosh.
Clifford's a
KD
fan.
known to have many besties in the NBA.
Drake and Steve Clifford.
Steve Clifford.
They're a trio.
Does Clifford have a song?
No.
There's a dog named after him.
The Big Red Dog.
Let's go, Big Red.
Hey, let's go Big Red. Let's go Skurs. Another free agent signing that just happened. Andre Drummond.
Just now?
Breaking news. Andre Drummond is now a Chicago Bull. So
They've been
interesting.
quiet today. That's the only thing that they've done.
Well, that's kind of something they've needed, though, is a guy who can help protect the rim. So, I don't know. It gives you a different option than Vucevic. So, maybe it's something.
They were rumored as being interested in Mo Bamba, so it doesn't surprise me that they go out and get a defensive big that can protect the rim.
Why didn't Denver do that?
They got DeAndre Jordan.
That's your rim protector.
They got a guy who just...
Do I need to show you the Clipper DeAndre Jordan highlights?
Yeah, we need to watch that after the show so I can start feeling a little bit better. But there are still some guys who haven't been signed yet in free agency. Obviously, the big one, DeAndre Ayton. Where the heck is Ayton going to end up? Because I really, really have a hard time believing it's going to be staying in Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't know. See, the thing is like he wants the max, but I don't think anyone's going to give him the max. So it's like by default, is he just going to stay in Phoenix? And if that's the case, how do you
mesh that relationship?
Right. The only team that I think would be kind of cool, I know we just mentioned them, but Portland, they haven't signed Nurkic yet. So maybe they're like waiting, trying to form something to where they can get Ayton. So then that way they're just like,
Is there a chance of a swap of Nurkic and Ayton?
I feel like that's not enough, but
No, I don't either. I think Ayton has so much more potential. I don't know what you do. Mitch Robinson is also a free agent. So Phoenix on the flip end, if they think, you know what, we don't even want to think about Ayton, they could look at a guy like Mitch Robinson who is a step down, but is still a quality center in the NBA. If they still have the hopes and dreams of, trying to contend in the West, which it really hasn't been a pretty couple days for the Phoenix Suns, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do for the rest of free agency now. But Devin Booker's going to get paid, so good for him, but I don't really know what Phoenix is going to do here.
Yeah, Mitch Robinson's also most likely going to re-sign with the Knicks on a 4-year, $60 million deal. That was broke yesterday. And so the center market is closing, like we just heard, Andre Drummond and DeAndre Jordan. And the bigs are flying off the board. And so as the time goes on where a deal, like a sign and trade, is not completed for DeAndre Ayton, it becomes more and more likely that they're going to be forced to run it back. And, that's going to be awkward, but it's looking like that's a possibility. We mentioned Atlanta earlier, but I still think that they're a suitor for a trade for DeAndre Ayton if they gave John Collins and Clint Capella the 2-up, or you could do Clint Capella and Bogdan Bogdanovic. And that gives, Phoenix their big and another wing to add to their team. It's interesting. But yeah, Phoenix has some figuring out to do. They gotta figure something out.
Yeah, Phoenix is like in a really weird spot.
Yeah.
It almost feels like things are just in shambles. Like, I don't know where they go. They can't necessarily run it back with the team they got because they lost by like 50 to Dallas in Game 7 at home. Like, you need to change something.
I don't know how you can run it back after watching that performance. I mean, in front of your home fans, like the biggest game of your season, and that's what happens. And they can't run it back because JaVale McGee also didn't resign, but he signed with Dallas today on a 3-year deal. So it is a very tense time here in the Valley because Phoenix is just trying to figure out what the heck they need to do because the lifespan of Chris Paul is kind of coming to an end as well. He's not getting any younger. His health isn't going to be any better. It's kind of getting to that point for Phoenix.
It is. Another trade I just remembered seeing on Twitter yesterday, a trade idea, and it involves the Toronto Raptors, who we already talked about, and the Suns would be a sign and trade DeAndre Ayton to Toronto for OG Anunoby. And so you get a guy that can play the 4 and defensively bring something to the table. They would still have to go out and find that center, though. Yeah. Just an interesting trade idea.
Yeah, that is interesting. But like the hole that the Suns would need to fill at the center position, like what? You're gonna have Bismack Biyombo like be your starting center? That just like creates a big hole. I feel like you need to get some sort of center back in any trade with Ayton, just because the free agent market for centers is. There's not really anything out there. Yeah, unless there's a different trade, too. Like, I mean, they don't just have to... Like, there's talks of Jay Crowder being traded. And a lot of teams are interested in that. So maybe even if they get OG back, maybe they can get a center back with a Jay Crowder trade. I don't know. Just throwing something out there. Yeah. But, yeah, the Suns have a lot of retooling that they need to do. I would honestly love for them to upgrade their backup point guard. Because I don't think Payton, but Campaign. I don't think he does it. I think they've kind of, in a sense, wasted the knowledge and wisdom that Chris Paul had or has. Like he could have been mentoring a young point guard right now to basically take over for him and at least get more minutes, like playing during the season. So interesting to see what they do, but. I don't know. It's. I feel like once that domino falls, that's when the season begins.
It feels like there's just this ticking time bomb, and you're looking around the room and you're trying to find it. But it feels like there's an explosion that might be coming soon in Phoenix. Producer Andy, we've been asked that we need more content of Producer Andy. Do you have anything for us on free agency? I know your guy Colin Sexton, a restricted free agent now. He's probably going to stay in Cleveland. Thoughts on that? And then maybe some things that we haven't covered in the show.
Yeah, I know I have talked a lot about Colin Sexton moving, and I want to see him moved eventually. I don't think right now is the right time. The league seems like a little bit too turbulent, and I like to play it safe. I'm like, if it's my team, I just really like to play it safe. And I think holding on to him and waiting until before the trade deadline is the better move here. Just give him a friendly contract. Don't overpay.
Yeah, don't overpay. But I agree. I don't think rushing along in terms of getting rid of Sexton is the right move if you're Cleveland. You want to make sure if it's the right fit. And maybe him and Garland will be a great fit in that backcourt. Only time will tell, especially after the success we saw Cleveland having this last year. But fellas, it's getting to that point of the day, covering day one of free agency, and I feel like we got a little bit closer, or maybe a little bit further apart after that Raptors conversation. But I think that was good. I think that was healthy. Christian, you had something?
Raptors fans, please. end our debate here. What would you guys do? Would you trade Scotty Barnes for Kevin Durant, or is that untouchable? Please let us know in the comments. Like we need to know, because I'm dying on that hill that you trade for Kevin Durant.
I think seriously, Raptors fans, get on your feet, because we would love to hear from that. But one of the cool things down the pipeline, if you are still listening to this point in the pod, or you're watching on YouTube, whatever it is, some cool things that we're doing in the off season. We're going to be doing deep dives into each and every team. So here in the next coming shows, we're going to look at Charlotte and Portland, and then obviously all different small market teams from there. So really exciting stuff that we're excited about, because in the offseason you think NBA, nothing going on, but this is a great time to see what does the future of your team look like. So with that being said, for producer Andy, Trevor Micklin, and Christian Dennis, I'm Scott Ayers. We say so long for now, and we will see you next week.
A11 even.
Hey, thanks for watching. Before you leave, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're the only NBA show focused on covering your favorite small market teams. Find us on all social media platforms at Small Ball Podcast.